This is Jean Cossey. I'm going to be demonstrating for the CGS 1060C Computer Literacy, the Excel 2021 Chapter 3 Independent Project. So I'm going to share my screen and turn on my annotation, and we'll get started. So I have on one side of my screen the instructions that I've copy pasted into Microsoft Word. And on the right-hand side, here's your D2L. And the way to get into your project, you could again go into Course Home. And on the content browser here, you have Unit 2 and the Excel are here. So chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the capstone. So I'm demonstrating chapter 3, and I'm doing, this one should be done prior to, the first one should be done prior, because that actually takes you through the textbook and it gives you let me try exercises. But this is the actual working in Excel directly. So this is how we click on the assignment. I go in as SimNet student and it brings me into the screen where I can download. So number one, I could let you know that instead of copying these directions into Microsoft Word, if you don't want to do that, you could just work with the directions here. And you could also download them with this button and make it like a PDF and put it on your desktop. But sometimes the PDF you can't zoom it, so that's why I don't usually do that. But you can zoom this, and this is the same screen that you're in to upload it later. Now the start files here, the solution, and you can use File Download Wizard. And I usually do the file download wizard, but if you ever see a button next to start file called resources, you really have to click on that separately. That's usually an extra picture or an extra file that needs to be included that does not come down with the file download wizard. So I'm going to use the file download wizard in this case. And then I get these files from I'll just straight open up the one that I need and bring that over so that you can see my Excel screen. Okay, so we have by the way, when you download from the internet, it sometimes warns you, and if you know it's from a reliable source, you hit enable editing. Reason being is there could be viruses embedded in the files. So on the left-hand side, my instructions say, open up a classic garden. So here's my file. My Excel file's here, and it wants me to use I'm assuming they want me to stay on the tab that I'm currently active on, which is called gross margins. So I'm going to use the quick analysis tool for a clustered column chart object for cells A4 to G9. So I select A4 to G9, so click and drag of the white mouse. And then you simply go to the quick analysis button, which is exactly what the red highlighter is pointing at right now. It allows you to do formatting, charts, totals, like formulas, making tables and spark lines, which we'll cover in this chapter, I believe, or it was covered already in one of the chapters. So the charts, they want clustered column chart, and I'm just going to click it. There it is. Move the chart object, step 3, so that its top left corner is A12 and size it until H30. So when you're moving a chart, make sure you see a tooltip that says chart area. It's when you're in a blank white area. You don't want to click any of these other objects, just the chart area, and let go at A12. So try to line it up in the corner of A12, and then I'm going to make it bigger. So sizing handles are here. I've got to go to H30, so I'll go down to 30 and over to H, or over to H and down to 30, and then let go. Now, precise measurements would be pressing, I believe, the Alt as you click and drag, and then it'll snap in, but I don't think we need that for this textbook. Now, the chart title displaying the words on one line and then in another line. I'm not going to type in the box that says chart title. I'm going up into my formula bar because I had first done it with the chart title on the actual clustered column chart, and I did not need to press Alt Enter, but it came out wrong, or I actually just hit the Enter key, but that was in this text box, but it wasn't in the formula bar, and I got it marked wrong. So this time I'm doing it with the formula bar. I'm just typing in, and you'll see that the words are in red here. So they're telling me what we want to do. Now on the second line, they first want us to do Alt Enter, and it looks like everything else disappeared, but you still have it. You can make this bigger, and you can see how it just went on the second line. By department. All right, now I'm done with that. So I can just hit the Enter key, which I actually want to go back and make the word department capitalized as well. All right, yeah, you just want to be specific. So my next step is to our normal size. I need to have chart style 14. So when your chart is selected, you have two tabs at the top. And if I maximize, you can actually see the special tabs that come up. There's a chart design and a format tab, which are all because you're selected on the chart. So anything you need to do with chart design or format, you have to be on the chart somewhere to do it. If I'm not in the chart, if I clicked away, I will not have those tabs. So make sure that you have the correct toolbars to go to get the work done for this assignment when it's asking you to do something for changing the chart. Here's the format tab that I went into, and that's going to help me to find the chart style 14 for this chart. So chart style 14, no, it's actually under chart design. So chart style 14 probably will be one of these last ones. Okay, so there's your style 14. Step 6, a 1-point black text 1 outline to the chart area. So making sure you're selected on the chart area. By the way, you could always go to the format tab to see what you're selected on. If you're not sure what object you're selected on, this verifies it for you on that format tab in the upper left corner. The chart design, I'm going to look at, actually, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to stay on format because with the chart area selected, I want to find out how I could put an outline around it. So here's your shape outline. And the first thing I want to make sure I do, because I missed it on the first time that I tried this, was you have to change the weight because it does say a 1 point. All right, so 1 point, and then find the black text 1 for that. So the color is right here. It's the black text 1. Perfect. So it's in the second column. All right, now this next step, display the primary minor horizontal axis grids. So what I have here is the horizontal major, but it wants the horizontal minor. So to find that, I'm going to go to chart design, and I find that going to the chart elements, and then it kind of says it in parentheses here, you want to go into grid lines. And so now they want primary minor because primary major is already there. They want the minor, it's just more specific. And the actual major value axis grids have to be black text 1, black text 1. So I'm going to select primary, let's see, I'll just select the lines. That's the plot area. That's not what we want. We want the line. That's the major vertical one. So I can see vertical axis major grid lines. That has to be black text 1. So let's see what color they are. There's a format tab. The actual line itself, we want the black text 1. In this case, though, it didn't say to make it a 1 point, so I didn't. I just made it black text 1. Does not want the minor ones done, so you can kind of see them gray colored. The next step, step 8, resize the data range to remove the design consulting, which is row 9. So we have to change the selection of the data. So we do that on the chart design and you'll see a button called Select Data. Okay, so select data, and that's going to allow me to remove the design consulting. I could do it a couple different ways. I could just change the G9 to G8 because that'll ignore G9. I could also remove design consulting like that. Let's try it that way. I did, and it ended up working. Okay, so now it ended up just getting the G8, or you could have just reselected the A4 to G8. So any of those ways. And before I leave here, though, let's see if they want me to do anything else here. Right. So you do see, if you move away, you see that the item for design consulting is gone. That's what they wanted you to do, making sure to select only up to the fountains and irrigations September total, and that's it. So I'm just going to hit OK, and it worked. You can see. Now, step 9, select, okay, they want me to be on the break even sheet tab. So I'm going to click on this first worksheet, which is break even. And what they're doing in steps 10A, B, and C is they just want you to take a look at the formulas that have already been done to give an example of something called break-even point. So if I click in A1, that's just to start out, but they wanted me to click on B8 to see how they calculated the per unit margin profit. And that is calculated by subtracting variable cost from sales price. So that's why it took B5 and subtracted B6. Okay, so that's done already. And then in B10, they want me to click B10, and then the formula divides the fixed cost, which was a constant number, 15,000 fixed costs for department. So it's taking the B7 and it's actually dividing the sales price minus the variable cost. So it's pretty much the same thing that we had put in this cell. We had the minus B5, B6, and now for here, it's taking that B5, B6 and dividing it into the fixed cost to get the total for the break-even point. So, by the way, the word round just means it rounds it to 0 decimals. That's what that second argument does. Now, they just wanted us to take a look at those cells, and now they want us to review the references and formulas in row 15 so we can build a table for the chart and copy the formulas to row 24. So here's the fixed cost is just a reference to cell B7. That's why the 15,000 comes in. Total variable cost is an absolute reference of B6 because that's always where the assigned variable cost is going to be when we're going to be dragging these down to copy with our fill handle. But it's taking B15 and then it's going to move B15 at reference, relative reference to each of these depending on the number of units sold. Total cost is adding up the fixed cost and the variable cost, and then your dollar sales would be the sales price in an absolute reference times B15 at a relative reference, so it'll just end up taking the number sold by the dollar sales. So those numbers are absolute, and that's why in a moment we're going to change it so that we have a break-even point that's even. So that actually they'll intersect when we create the line chart. And the profit is just taking your total cost and subtracting your, or taking your dollar sales and subtracting your total cost. Super. So now it says, sure enough, it wants us to, on step 10B, select B5 and change the sales price. So we're going to change it to 200. Oops. I hit escape because I was doing it incorrectly. I didn't click first on B5. So B5, 200, enter, And it shows me that the break-even point is also 200, the level at which profits covers all costs. Okay, profits will cover all costs. So these are all equal. Now, after we do that, then we're going to make a chart. So we're going to create a line chart. Step 11A, we have to select B14. Before I do that, though, I think I may need to fill it. Review the reference and formulas in row 15 to build a table for the cart and copy the formulas to row 24. So there was one more step for me to do. I'm actually going to hit no. Yeah, I'm going to undo so that first I can actually do the selection of B14. Copy the formulas. Okay, so the formulas that are in row 15, I'm just going to take these and copy them with the fill handle. That's what we needed to do for step 10C. Then I'm going to go back to B5 and put 200 in there and press enter, and that's showing us this first break even. Break even here, that's the 200 that we just put in. The 200 break even point is 200, and that's when our profits and expenses are the same. All right, now that we have full data filled in, I can select B14 to C14, step 11A. So B14 to C24. And then at the same time, I want E14 to F24. So I have to hit the Control key before I select E14 to F24. And a 2D line chart with markers. So instead of using this is actually the first time I'll use this method, and it's under insert. So insert, and it wants a line chart. So I'm going to do a 2D line chart, but it's said with markers. So you have to find the little tooltip that says line with markers. So there you have the chart, and I will restore this back so that you can see it did say 2D line chart with markers for each line. Now I want to position the chart. So I'm going to move the chart object to start at A26 through H45. So again, taking the four-sided arrow on the chart area, not any other object. So this is what moves the whole thing. We need it to be on A26 through H. By the way, I'm using my down arrow on my keyboard because sometimes that makes it a little easier to size it perfectly. A26 to H45. So I go down to 45 while I'm going over the H, and I let go when I get into the bottom of that. So H45. Pretty good. Okay. Now edit the source data. So we want to select, the reason why we're going to do this is because we're going to deselect this line that's straight across. All right, we're not going to have that selected. So let's look at how to do that. It says click the select data button, which is on the chart design on the ribbon tab, and then edit in the horizontal category, which is right over on the right hand side. You see how it just says 1, 2, 3, 4. We actually want some data to be in there. So we're going to override what they picked for the category labels. We want to select B15. So B15 to B24. And so I go to edit for the horizontal, and I select B15 to B24. So the number of units would be down on the horizontal axis. I'm hitting OK. Should be right. Now we have to deselect the number sold, okay, on this side, because we don't need to have that straight line all the way across. because the category labels, it says should not be plotted as a line. So we highlight the pounds sold and remove it. And we should be done with this. We wanted to fix exactly what they wanted us to do. And we are all set with that. So I hit OK. All right, so it shows you on this step D in this figure that you have to make those changes, okay? So now on step 13, I need to edit the chart title to display break even in units. And this time I will type it right in here. And I could select this by clicking and dragging my I-beam, or I could have done a triple click, or again, you can type in the formula bar. But because I don't have to hit the Alt Enter to get to a second line, I should be okay where I am at right now. So break even in units, making sure you capitalize everything. Even though there's a period after it in red, I'm not going to put that in. I don't think you need it. Now I'm going to use Chart Elements Quick Button. What they mean by that is these buttons right here. One is called Chart Elements, one is called Chart Styles, and one's called Chart Filters. So here's the Chart Elements Quick Button, and they want the legend at the top. So the legend is checked, and the legend means what are each of the colored lines? What do they symbolize? We've got fixed cost is red, and then we've got total cost and dollar sales. Total cost in a different color. So we don't want them at the bottom. Right now they're at the bottom. They want us to display the legend at the top. So that's what the question asks. And sure enough, that's where they went, right under the title. Now it wants the primary major vertical lines. So I go to grid lines and hit the arrow, not the check mark, because then it goes away. But we do want primary major vertical in addition to primary major horizontal. So I've displayed those and then format both of those with black text lighter 50 for the shape outline. I will do that on the formula, the formatting. So I will do the click inside the vertical line here. So those are selected, and I can tell when I go to the Format tab, I can tell that those are selected. The horizontal axis major grid lines. Yep. They have to be black text 1 lighter 50 from the shape outline. So shape outline right here in the shape styles group on the Format tab. And it wants black text 1 lighter 50. I'm thinking this one right here. Yes, black text 1 lighter 50, and I'm done with that. They wanted, though, for us to do that for the horizontal as well. So I select the horizontal line, or you could have gone to the drop down and selected the vertical major axis grid lines. And because it's actually reading the amounts on the vertical axis, and I need the same color. So I go to my drop down and pick the correct color, which is the one that had the 50%. Yes. Good. All right. I'm on step D, which actually wants a 1-point black text 1 outline for chart area. So I deselect the one I'm on because right now I'm actually selected on the vertical axis major. So I click in the chart area because that's what they want me to format. And again, you can use your drop downs to pick the correct object to format. They want the black text outline, black text 1 outline, but not just that. Okay. They want a 1 point. So go to weight and make it 1 point before you check the color. All right. So weight has to be 1 point, and then I make it the black text 1. It's not the one that's 50%. So you want to be very careful reading those steps. And I'm good for that. So now, by the way, these things are showing, it doesn't really matter. They stay where they are. But what I do want to do is find out where to find offset bottom right shadow effect for the plot area. So the plot area, again, you can use your drop down on your Format tab to find the plot area. That might be the best way, because in this case, it's selecting the actual square of all the horizontal and vertical grid lines. So we don't want to select any of the incorrect items, and this was very accurate for us. So we want offset bottom right shadow effect. The shadow effect is going to be the button in the shape styles that's underneath your where we went for shape outline prior. So here we go. Under shadow effect, I want an offset. So those are the outer offset bottom right. So what it does, it makes it just a little three-dimensional looking, like there's a color in the background. So I'm on step 15 now. What I'm going to do is go up to where it says B5. Okay, so B5, we're not on the chart now, we're in the actual data. And we want to see the effect of this on the chart by changing the sales price to 225. 225 in cell B5. All right, and then you can see that it changed the chart. So it's very interactive. And now we just have to do some worksheet formatting and setting up for printing. So in A1, A2, and A3, so the range A1 to A3, font size is 16. Now A1 through H3, I'm going to just give you a heads up that I tried this and I got it wrong, because there used to be a center cells across selection, but then they're telling me it's not merged when I do that. So I'll show you what we're going to try this time is I'm going to probably just do the merge and center. There, it used to say merge it used to say merge center across selection here. But it doesn't do that anymore. Let me see if it's under the alignment text box. Merge cells. But that doesn't really help. I wanted to find center across selection, but they don't have that. So I cancel. And this is another thing. I went into the Excel options to try to add a new button to my quick access toolbar, and it didn't help. So I had initially picked merge center across selection, but it didn't center it. So instead of hitting center align though, I'm going to choose merge and center. Okay, but when you hit just merge and center, it warns you. Merging cells only keeps the upper left value and discards the other. I don't want that. So I have to, even though it told me to select the range, I'm going to select A3 to H3 and do a merge and center, and then do the same thing for the next two. And we'll see if it comes out, because I could not get that to work. And they do change things from version to version. So we used to have a center across selection, but now it says merge across, and it just doesn't seem to be doing that. It merges them, but it's not centering. So we'll see if we did the right thing. I hope. I want to get it right. All right. So applying a bottom border to A3 to H3, so I still am selected on that range, and I'm going to choose bottom border for that one. I'm on the home tab, and I just need the bottom border. Okay. So that's putting a line between 3 and 4 in that range. Selecting A1, just so it's always at A1 before you save and close. And I'll see if your gross margins probably, I was still selected on the chart. It didn't really say not to, but I do like to make sure I'm in A1. And then in this, there are several ways you can go for landscape orientation and to scale to fit one page. But I'm going to show you the way that there are two different ways, and I like to do it from page setup or page print preview. That's how I like to do it. So if you want to go to page layout, you will find the landscape orientation here. Portrait currently landscape. Portrait's the default landscape. Then you could also see there is a scale to fit, but there's a little drop down arrow to go to it. So if I choose that, I'm actually in the window that I want it to be in anyway. And I could do the landscape from here. And I could do the scale to 1 page, but I'm going to do that in another spot. But I will show you the center of the page horizontally is on the margins in the bottom left corner, center on page horizontally. I'm going to go straight to print preview to show you, yes, it's landscape, but the no scaling is a lot easier from here, I think. Fit sheet on 1 page. That's what it wants us to do. And you're good to go. We have 1 page out of 1, and it seems to be centered on the page horizontally and definitely landscape. So now so initially, instead of going to page layout, you could have just gone to the file tab, which is called backstage view, and gone to print, brings you into print preview where you have all the features that you need here. And I would have chosen page setup. I find this the easiest place to go for everything to do with setting up for printing. And that's where we found the center on page horizontal. I don't know of any other place that is on the Rivet. By the way, header footers here, which we've done on different assignments, and then sheet tab gives us grid lines, row and column heading, and rows to repeat at top is actually a very important thing, but I don't think any of the assignments have us do that. What that does, it actually, for a multiple page workbook, it'll repeat the first row of headings at the top, which is super important. So it would make more sense on maybe the next assignment that we do, the project 4. I think I'm done. So I'm going to save and close. I'm going to make sure all of my sheets look like what they do in the samples, so you can see that it sure looks okay for now. And we will see if all of our skills were correct. Go back to up here. I know I did that right. And we already checked our figures on this, so we should be good. All right, so I'm just going to save my work in Excel and upload it with you. And to do that, okay, I thought I saved it, but I'm going to save it now. And okay, so now upload my file. I kept this in the download folder for now. So I'm going to upload from the download folder. Here's my Classic Gardens 3. I'm submitting the file. So we'll see how the attempt first, actually, this is my 3rd attempt. So we'll see how it came out. I got a 95.45, and I'm pretty sure it's probably that center across selection, which for me, at this point, I've tried so many times. This is my 3rd time trying that. I think that I have to call or write to McGraw-Hill to find out what they mean by doing that, because I don't know what to recommend for that. Center cells across selection. They don't want center align. They didn't want origin center, and center across made each of those cells separate cells, but it didn't put the contents in the middle. So I don't really think I can help with that one. That was the only one that we got wrong. Okay, that's the only one that was read here, and it actually gives you exactly where. Again, we did do the size 18, the size 16 for the font. We just had that one issue that I had explained while we were doing it. I wasn't very hopeful, but we're all set for everything else. So I think the grade of 95.45 is very good, and I'm done. I hope that works with you, and hopefully this was successful. And if you have any questions whatsoever, just send me an email within D2L. Thank you so much.